In a world more connected than ever before, why does true creativity feel like it's slipping through our fingers, drowned out by the endless echo of imitation? Why are original ideas becoming increasingly rare, while imitation and trends dominate the cultural landscape? Is the decline of creativity merely a fleeting trend, or is it a symptom of something far deeper, something far more systemic? The problem is not simply a matter of individual talent or lack of it. It's the result of a pervasive shift in how we understand creativity itself. We live in a time when copycat culture has taken root, and originality has been pushed to the periphery of innovation. As trends, templates, and repetitive ideas flood the marketplace, the essence of genuine creativity is being systematically replaced by the comfort of imitation. This shift is not accidental. It is a cultural and economic reality that shapes the decisions of creators and consumers alike. In this video, we will uncover the hidden forces driving this decline and explore how it directly impacts our world and your own creative potential. Society has been quietly feeding a cycle in which creative freedom is sacrificed in favor of guaranteed success. The most visible artists, musicians, and content creators are often those who follow trends, repurpose ideas, or recycle concepts that have proven to work before. Instead of producing something entirely unique, we have grown comfortable with replicating what is popular, what is known, what is safe. And in doing so, we have forgotten the value of true originality, the type of originality that forces us to think beyond the limits of convention and to break new ground. The process of creation has, in many ways, become indistinguishable from imitation. We have substituted the risk of innovation with the predictability of copying. This is not just a trivial observation. It is a fundamental shift in the way we engage with art, music, technology, and ideas. Copycat culture thrives because it offers a shortcut to success, a way to avoid the struggle of developing new, complex ideas by simply repeating what has already been proven to work. But this comes at a cost. The more we prioritize imitation over originality, the more we erode the very core of what makes us creative beings. We settle for the illusion of creativity, while true artistic freedom withers in the background. Look at the current state of the digital landscape. How often do we encounter content that seems derivative from viral trends to regurgitated themes? Much of what is produced today seems more like a copy of a copy than a true expression of individual vision. This is not to say that trends or influence are inherently bad. Influence is natural, and trends are a byproduct of collective engagement. But when entire industries, whether in the arts, technology, or business, become built around mimicking what already exists, it signals a troubling erosion of true creativity. When the line between imitation and originality becomes blurred, we risk losing the ability to distinguish between the two altogether. Why is this happening? Why has creativity, once celebrated as a unique human trait, become something to replicate rather than cultivate? At the root of this issue lies an underlying assumption that success in the creative field is directly tied to what works, rather than what is truly original. This leads to an ever-growing focus on conformity rather than authentic self-expression, a cycle in which cultural plagiarism thrives, and originality is seen as a gamble instead of a guarantee. What is the true cost of this shift? As we lean into trends and copycat culture, we sacrifice more than just fresh ideas. We lose the ability to challenge the status quo, to innovate, to break boundaries. We surrender the fundamental human drive for unique expression, choosing the security of imitation over the vulnerability of originality. What does this mean for the future of creativity? If true creativity is dying, what does that mean for the next generation of artists, innovators, and thinkers? Will they ever experience the freedom to create from within, or will they be trapped in the same cycles of imitation? We will explore the psychological and philosophical forces driving this shift. Why does imitation feel safer? Why does the act of innovation now seem so daunting to so many? What deep-seated beliefs about success and failure are causing us to abandon true creative expression? But before we continue, take a moment to consider, what have you created recently that was entirely your own, free from the influence of trends or the expectations of others? And if you believe that creativity still has a place in this world, If you seek to break free from this cycle, then join us on this journey. Subscribe now and together, let's rediscover the power of originality. For it is only when we commit to forging something new, something undeniably ours, that we can truly change the course of creativity itself. To understand why creativity is faltering, we must first look beneath the surface. The rise of copycat culture isn't just a passing trend. It's rooted in psychological and philosophical forces that shape our behavior, sense of self, and relationship with success. It is a complex web woven into the fabric of society itself that feeds the idea that replication, rather than innovation, is the path to achievement. Why is imitation so pervasive, and why does it feel safer than originality? At the heart of this issue lies a deep-seated human fear, the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of being misunderstood. As humans, we are wired to seek approval, to be validated by others. It is part of our evolutionary makeup. Our ancestors depended on social cohesion and group acceptance to survive. In today's world, this ancient impulse has morphed into something far more insidious. We no longer just seek belonging, we seek it through the safest possible route, mimicking what already works. The risk of failure is simply too great to venture into the unknown. This reliance on imitation is not only psychological, it is cultural. As philosopher Jean-Paul would argue, humans are often more comfortable with what is familiar, what can be controlled, than with the freedom of genuine self-expression. Originality requires a level of vulnerability, a willingness to expose oneself to the judgment and scrutiny of others. When we choose imitation, we sidestep that vulnerability. But by doing so, we also sidestep the potential for genuine innovation and the true fulfillment that comes from creating something uniquely our own. Jean-Paul's existentialist perspective on human freedom and responsibility highlights the tension at play here. To be original is to accept responsibility for one's actions and creations. It is to acknowledge the potential for failure, rejection, and misunderstanding. It is to take on the existential weight of creating something that is truly one's own, without the comfort of knowing that it will be accepted because it mirrors what already exists. Moreover, there is a darker element at play here. Machiavelli, in his Prince, recognized the human tendency to follow established patterns to maintain power and influence. In a world where success is often measured by metrics like likes, shares, and views, it's easy to understand why creators are drawn to replicating what has already proven successful. The logic is simple. If something works, why take the risk of doing something different? In a world governed by constant visibility and validation, where viral trends determine value, originality feels like an uncertain path. Replication, on the other hand, offers predictability and a temporary but reassuring sense of success. We consume what is familiar, and we create based on what we consume. This creates a feedback loop where originality becomes increasingly rare as the standard for creative work keeps getting lower. The less we create original work, the more we are conditioned to accept imitation as a legitimate form of creation. But this reliance on replication has far-reaching consequences. It not only stifles innovation, it changes the very way we see ourselves and our world. As Carl Jung noted, humans have a deep psychological need for individuation, the process of becoming the person we are meant to be, distinct from others. Yet when we replicate the work of others, we rob ourselves of this process. We lose the opportunity to discover who we are, to create in a way that is authentically tied to our personal experience and vision. We become echoes of others, nothing more than shadow versions of someone else's creativity. This isn't just an issue for artists and musicians. It's a systemic problem that affects us all. When we prioritize trends over original thought, when we elevate imitation over true innovation, we lose the value of creativity itself. Creativity isn't just about producing something new, it's about engaging in the world in a way that reflects our unique understanding of it. By mimicking the work of others, we deprive ourselves of the ability to engage with the world on our own terms. But the consequences extend far beyond individual loss. As the collective value of originality declines, we risk eroding the cultural integrity that innovation provides. Cultures thrive when they are constantly reinventing themselves, when new ideas challenge old assumptions and create space for growth. When imitation becomes the norm, it stagnates society, making it harder for new ideas to take root. Why does this happen? Why do we gravitate toward imitation despite its clear drawbacks? It is the comfort of predictability, the allure of security, and the fear of failure. In a world increasingly driven by metrics of success, we have forgotten that true innovation is born from the courage to fail, to risk, and to create without the guarantee of approval. The truth is, creativity is not just a skill or a talent. It's a way of thinking. It's about having the courage to stand apart, to think critically, and to create from a place of authenticity. But how do we reclaim that perspective? How do we break free from the cycle of imitation? Before we continue, ask yourself, have you ever followed a trend instead of creating something truly yours? What would it take to break free and reclaim your creative independence? The problem with the rise of copycat culture goes far beyond the creative sectors. It reaches deep into the fabric of our daily lives, shaping how we think, how we engage with the world, and how we perceive success. The unseen consequences of this cultural shift are profound, subtle, and pervasive. These consequences manifest in ways that many of us may not even realize, but their effects are shaping our behaviors, emotions, and ultimately, our sense of identity. When we live in a world dominated by imitation, we fall victim to a series of cognitive and psychological traps. One of the most significant of these is the bandwagon effect, the tendency to adopt the behaviors, beliefs, and trends that are most popular simply because they are popular. This bias is ingrained in us, and it has powerful implications for creativity. As we increasingly imitate what we see around us, the line between originality and conformity blurs. Think about the content you consume daily: viral videos, music hits, fashion trends, and social media posts. In many cases, the most popular ideas aren't the most innovative. They're the ones that are easiest to digest, the ones that fit the formula, the ones that are already validated by the masses, and so we imitate. But the bandwagon effect isn't just about following the crowd. It's also about avoiding failure. Neuroscientific studies have shown that our brains are wired to avoid risks, especially when there is no clear reward. The brain's reward system activates when we conform to social expectations or follow established trends. In contrast, the act of venturing into unknown territory, creating something truly original, can trigger feelings of discomfort, anxiety, and even fear. This is the very real neurological basis for why so many creators and individuals fall into the trap of imitation. The consequences of this psychological programming are significant. As we continue to favor replication over innovation, we risk losing the most powerful tool we have for personal and societal growth: the capacity to think independently. On a societal level, this trend towards imitation erodes the diversity of thought that fuels innovation. Neurologically, the brain becomes conditioned to expect the familiar patterns, routines, and ideas that fit into a predictable mold. As time passes, we stop asking the critical questions and stop challenging the assumptions that underpin our world. What does this mean for society? It means we become passive consumers rather than active creators. We are more likely to accept things as they are, more likely to follow trends without questioning them, and less likely to demand change. This mental conditioning stifles the very creativity that drives progress. It makes us passive in our own evolution, both individually and as a collective. Creativity is at the heart of progress, whether in technology, art, culture, or even politics. It is the spark that ignites new solutions, new ideas, and new ways of thinking. But when we are trapped in the cycle of imitation, we fail to produce the ideas that truly challenge the status quo. We become spectators in the world of ideas instead of participants. When success is defined by how closely we can replicate the patterns set by others, we begin to see ourselves not as individuals with unique capacities, but as mere echoes of someone else's vision. We stop recognizing the value of our own thoughts, our own voices, and our own experiences. And this leads to the slow death of creative identity. When originality is no longer the goal, the very foundation of artistic freedom begins to erode. We begin to see ourselves as creators of replicas instead of creators of something entirely new. Over time, this leads to frustration, a yearning for something more, but no clear way to achieve it. Culturally, the focus on imitation shifts our value of creativity, prioritizing marketability over originality. As a result, innovation is often overlooked, with the culture favoring safe, familiar formulas over original ideas. This is how cultural plagiarism takes root. Imitation leads to the commodification of creativity, where recycled ideas lose their original power and become mere products that fit existing molds. This cycle limits artistic freedom and reduces space for true innovation. In the digital age, success is driven by replication, where creativity is valued not for its originality, but for how easily it can be consumed and shared. This cultural shift harms everyone, as it reduces our ability to envision and evolve. Creativity is essential for progress. Without it, we stagnate. To reclaim true creativity, we must break free from imitation, shift our mindset, and embrace originality. What are you creating today that truly reflects who you are? The task at hand is clear. We must break free from the suffocating grip of imitation and rediscover the power of true creativity. We have the power to reclaim originality, to restore artistic freedom, and to reforge a path where creation is defined by personal expression rather than the pursuit of replication. But how do we escape the grip of copycat culture? How do we go from being passive consumers of trends to active creators of new ideas? The answer lies not in rejecting influence, but in understanding the difference between influence and imitation. Influence is natural. It's a part of the creative process. It's the way we learn, adapt, and evolve. Imitation, however, is the act of copying without transformation, a shortcut to success that ultimately leads to creative stagnation. The first step in reclaiming creativity is to shift our mindset. Creativity is not just a skill, it's a way of thinking. To be truly creative, we must stop seeing ourselves as mere followers and begin viewing ourselves as independent thinkers capable of creating something entirely unique. But this shift requires more than just intellectual understanding. It requires the courage to risk failure, the willingness to be vulnerable, and the commitment to create for the sake of creation itself, not for the sake of validation. To move beyond imitation, we must embrace the discomfort that comes with original creation. Vulnerability is the cornerstone of innovation. Creating something new, something entirely your own, can feel intimidating. The fear of failure is real, and the fear of rejection even more pervasive. However, these fears are not reasons to abandon originality. They are the very signals that we are on the right path. True creativity lies beyond our comfort zones. One of the most powerful ways to break free from imitation is to learn to cultivate a sense of artistic integrity. Integrity in creation means being true to your own voice, your own vision. It means resisting the pull of trends, even when they promise immediate success. It means creating with the understanding that your work may not be popular, may not go viral, and may not meet the expectations of others. But it will be yours, and that is what truly matters above all. To cultivate artistic integrity, it's essential to build a creative practice grounded in authenticity. Instead of looking at what others are doing and asking, "How can I replicate that?" ask yourself, "What do I want to say? What is the unique story I can tell? What emotions, experiences, and perspectives am I bringing to this work that no one else can?" This shift in focus from external validation to internal fulfillment is key to creating with originality. Next, we must be willing to experiment. Too often, we hesitate to innovate because we fear the unknown. But creativity thrives in experimentation. If we are to break free from the confines of imitation, we must embrace failure as a natural part of the process. Innovation is not about getting everything right on the first try. It's about pushing boundaries, testing new ideas, and learning from mistakes. As Nietzsche once said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." The messiness of creativity is what leads to breakthroughs, to truly original work. Another essential step in breaking free from copycat culture is to disconnect from the need for external validation. Social media, viral trends, and the constant feedback loop of likes, shares, and views can often distort our sense of worth and purpose as creators. These external metrics may make it easier to gain immediate recognition, but they also reinforce conformity. True originality doesn't conform to algorithms. It thrives in the freedom of personal expression. To create authentically, we must learn to value our work for what it is, not for how many people it reaches or how well it fits the expectations of the crowd. History has shown us that the most revolutionary ideas and creations are often met with resistance, not applause. The road to true innovation is rarely paved with popularity. It is paved with the resilience to continue despite rejection, to keep creating when the world doesn't immediately recognize your value. Take Vincent van Gogh, for example. His art was not appreciated in his lifetime, yet today he is considered one of the most influential artists in history. His originality, born from his own struggle and vision, was dismissed by many, but it was this very originality that transformed the world of art forever. This lesson in perseverance is vital for creators today. The willingness to fail, to be misunderstood, and to stand apart is what separates true innovators from imitators. To break free from copycat culture, we must accept that success may not come on the first try or the second. But with persistence and dedication to authenticity, it will come. Not as validation, but as fulfillment. The power to reclaim creativity lies within each of us. It's a matter of perspective and dedication. Creativity is not a finite resource, but a boundless well, and the more we create from within, the more we give the world the chance to experience something new, something revolutionary, something that only we could create. This is the essence of artistic freedom, the ability to speak truth through our work, to express what is uniquely ours, and to contribute to the cultural landscape in a way that can only be done by embracing our own vision. Before we move forward, consider this. When was the last time you created something that was purely and undeniably your own? If you haven't yet, what is holding you back from stepping into that space of creative freedom? The world is waiting for your unique vision to emerge. Now is the time to claim it. The truth about creativity is simple, yet it remains one of the most elusive concepts to grasp fully. True creativity is not about being the best or the most popular. It's not about following a formula or replicating what has already been proven to work. The ultimate truth about creativity is this. It is an expression of the self, a manifestation of individuality in a world that often demands conformity. When we strip away the layers of imitation and replication, we discover that creativity is about authenticity. It is about expressing our unique perspective, our emotions, our experiences, and our vision in ways that cannot be replicated. The value of creativity lies not in its mass appeal, but in its ability to be deeply personal and undeniably original. This is why true creativity can never be fully commodified. It is not something that can be mass-produced, mass-consumed, or mass-replicated. At its deepest level, creativity is an act of self-discovery. It is the process of exploring our own thoughts, desires, fears, and translating them into something that speaks to others on a deeply emotional level. When we create from this place of deep self-awareness, we move beyond trends and the influence of external validation. We stop measuring our worth by the number of likes or shares, and instead, we create for the sake of creation. True creativity is an act of freedom and is what distinguishes true creators from mere imitators. To create is to declare your existence, your voice, and your vision in a world that often seeks to silence them. It is a radical act of defiance against the pressures of society, against the temptation to follow the crowd, and against the systems that prioritize conformity over individuality. In understanding this, we recognize that true creativity is not a commodity, nor is it something that can be acquired by following trends. It is born from the tension between our innermost desires and the external forces that try to shape us. Creativity thrives in the spaces where the individual is free to express, to question, to challenge, and to break boundaries. The very essence of being human is our ability to create something that has never existed before, to push the limits of imagination and reality. This is the ultimate freedom, to be fully, unapologetically, and authentically ourselves. It requires the courage to embrace failure, the willingness to stand apart from the crowd, and the strength to continue creating when the world is telling you to do the same as everyone else. The greatest creators in history were never those who played it safe, who followed trends, or who replicated what worked. They were the ones who dared to go against the grain, to challenge the status quo, to invent new possibilities. Think of Steve Jobs, who, in the early days of Apple, dared to think differently. His vision was not simply about creating a product, it was about creating an experience that redefined how people interact with technology. Jobs didn't follow trends, he set them. He saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. And through his original thinking, he revolutionized the way we live. This is the power of true creativity. It's about seeing possibilities where others see limitations, and turning those possibilities into reality. But here's the paradox. We have come to believe that success is defined by how closely we can align with what others have done. The copycat culture reinforces this belief, convincing us that to succeed, we must replicate what already works. The truth is, success is not about copying what others do. It's about creating what no one else has dared to create. The more we follow the crowd, the more we dilute our own unique potential. The more we imitate, the more we lose our own creative power. Creativity is not just an act of expression. It is a reclaiming of our personal power. It is about recognizing that we have something unique to offer the world, something that cannot be replicated, something that is entirely our own. When we create from this place of personal authenticity, we connect with others not because we followed a trend, but because we've shared a piece of ourselves that is universally human. True creativity is the antidote to the stagnation caused by imitation. It is the force that pushes the world forward. When we commit to original thought, when we allow ourselves the freedom to think outside the box, we become part of a larger movement. The movement of innovation, of progress, of change. What does this mean for you as a creator? It means that you don't have to follow trends, you don't have to replicate what others are doing, and you certainly don't have to sell yourself short to fit into a predefined mold. You are the creator of your own destiny, and the world is waiting for your unique contribution. The moment you decide to create for yourself, not for the approval of others, not for the comfort of conformity, you unlock the true power of creativity. And that is the most powerful realization of all. Creativity is the freedom to create from a place of authenticity, to follow your own path, and to leave your unique mark on the world. The moment you step into this space, you reclaim your creative power, and you step away from the chains of imitation that have held so many back for so long. As we conclude this exploration into the decline of creativity and the rise of copycat culture, remember this: true creativity is not just about art or innovation, it is about how you choose to engage with the world around you. When you embrace your own unique voice, when you create from within, you become part of something much larger than yourself, a movement toward originality, authenticity, and artistic freedom. Now, as the final words settle, I ask you, what is the spark of originality you're ready to ignite? Share your thoughts, your revelations, your own creative journey in the comments below. Let your voice be heard. In this realm, your unique perspective is a spark waiting to light the way for others.